The moment I walked into that delivery room as the attending physician, my entire world shattered. There was my husband, holding another woman's hand, a woman in active labor with his child. He went pale, she started screaming, and I had exactly 60 seconds to decide: save her life or walk away. Hey everyone, I'm a doctor, an OB-GYN, to be specific, and I've dedicated my entire life to bringing new life into this world. I've been in delivery rooms during the most beautiful moments and the most terrifying ones. I've held the hands of first-time mothers, delivered twins in emergency C-sections, and talked women through their deepest fears at 3 in the morning. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the night when my professional life and personal life collided in the most devastating way imaginable. This is the hardest story I've ever had to tell, but I'm telling it because I need you to understand something. If you've ever had to choose between your pain and your principles, between revenge and doing what's right, even when it destroys you, then stay with me. This story isn't easy, but it's real. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up, because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about love, betrayal, and who I really am. Let's get into it. I need to take you back a bit so you understand how I got here. I grew up in a small town where being a black woman with big dreams meant you had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. My mother cleaned houses to put me through college. My father worked double shifts at the factory. They sacrificed everything so I could be the first person in our family to become a doctor. Medical school nearly broke me. The long hours, the student debt piling up like a mountain I'd never climb, the subtle and not so subtle racism, the moments when I wanted to quit so badly I could taste it, but I didn't. I pushed through residency, through countless sleepless nights, through the exhaustion that makes your bones ache. And I made it. I became an OB-GYN, because there's nothing more powerful than being present for the moment a soul enters this world. That's actually where I met my husband, Andre. Well, ex-husband now, but back then he was everything I thought I wanted. He worked in hospital administration, managing budgets and staffing, and all the behind-the-scenes work that keeps a hospital running. He was charming, ambitious, and he seemed to understand the demands of my career because he lived in the same world. We met at a hospital fundraiser, and he made me laugh during a particularly boring speech about fiscal responsibility. 6 months later, we were engaged. A year after that, married. For 8 years, I thought we had built something real. Sure, we had our problems. What couple doesn't? My shifts were brutal. 12, sometimes 16 hours, coming home exhausted, smelling like antiseptic, and too tired to have a real conversation. He worked late too, or so he said. There were signs, looking back now, the way he started putting a password on his phone when he never had before, the sudden need for privacy, the business trips that seemed to multiply, the distance that crept in like fog, so gradual you don't notice until you can't see 2 feet in front of you. But I told myself we were just going through a phase. Every marriage has rough patches, right? We were both focused on our careers. I was up for a promotion to head of the department. He was angling for a senior management position. We were building our future. Or at least, that's what I told myself every time that little voice in the back of my head whispered that something was wrong. I ignored it. I was too busy, too tired, too invested in believing the lie. September 17th. I'll never forget that date. It was a Thursday evening, and I had just finished back-to-back C-sections. One of them had complications, hemorrhaging that required quick thinking and quicker hands. I was exhausted in a way that goes beyond physical. You know that tiredness where your soul feels heavy? That's where I was. I had just sat down in the break room with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago when my pager went off. Labor and delivery, emergency, high-risk pregnancy, patient in distress, baby showing signs of fetal distress. I didn't even finish the coffee. I just grabbed my scrubs, splashed water on my face, and headed down the corridor toward the delivery wing. The nurse met me halfway, chart in hand, talking fast. 26-year-old woman, 31 weeks pregnant, Premature labor, blood pressure through the roof, baby's heart rate dropping. We needed to move fast. I was already in doctor mode, mentally preparing for what might be a very complicated delivery. I pushed through those delivery room doors, focused, ready, professional, and then I looked up. Time didn't just slow down. It stopped. It completely stopped. There, standing next to the bed, holding the hand of a woman who was clearly in labor, was my husband, Andre, my husband of 8 years, the man who had kissed me goodbye that morning and told me he loved me, the man whose laundry I did, whose meals I cooked when I had the energy, whose mother I called every Sunday. Our eyes met across that room, and I watched the color drain from his face like someone had pulled a plug. He went from brown to gray in seconds. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. And the woman on the bed, this young woman, with tears streaming down her face and her belly swollen with child, she looked at me, then at him, then back at me, and she started screaming. Not from the contractions, from confusion, from fear. Andre, who is she? Who is that? What's going on? Her voice was high-pitched, panicked, and it cut through the room like a knife. The nurses looked at me, looked at him, looked at each other. The tension in that room was suffocating. I couldn't breathe. The clipboard in my hands was shaking, and I realized it was because my entire body was trembling. Every nerve ending was on fire. My vision went blurry at the edges. I thought I might actually pass out, which had never happened to me. Not once in my entire medical career. I don't know how long we stood there. It could have been 3 seconds or 3 minutes. But then the monitors started beeping louder. The baby's heart rate was dropping faster. The woman, Gabrielle, I later learned her name was, she started screaming from an actual contraction this time. And one of my nurses, sweet old Beverly, who'd been delivering babies since before I was born, she touched my arm and whispered, "Dr. Thompson, do you need me to call another physician?" And that question snapped me back into my body. I looked at that monitor. I looked at Gabrielle writhing in pain. I looked at Andre, still frozen like a statue, useless and pathetic. And I heard my mother's voice in my head, clear as day. My mother who had raised me to be strong, to be principled, to be bigger than my circumstances. She used to say, "Baby, you're not just a black woman in this world. You're a black woman with the power to save lives. Don't you ever let anyone make you forget who you are." That baby didn't ask to be born into this mess. That woman on the table, regardless of what she'd done, regardless of the betrayal, she was a patient in critical condition. And I was a doctor. I took an oath. I swore to do no harm, to put my patients first, to be a healer above all else. So I made the decision. I straightened my spine, wiped my face, and I said in the steadiest voice I could manage, "No, I'm staying. I'm her doctor." You should have seen Andre's face. He tried to step toward me, tried to say something, and I held up one hand. "You can leave, or you can stay silent. Those are your only 2 options. Choose now." My voice didn't sound like my own. It sounded cold, clinical, sharp as a scalpel. He stayed. Of course he stayed. Coward that he was, he couldn't even do me the courtesy of leaving. Gabrielle was still crying, still confused, and she kept looking between us, trying to understand. I walked to her bedside, looked her in the eyes, and said, "My name is Dr. Thompson. I'm going to deliver your baby safely. Right now, that's all that matters. Everything else waits. Do you understand me?" She nodded, tears still streaming. But she nodded, and then I did what I was trained to do. I compartmentalized. I took every ounce of pain, every scream building in my chest, every betrayed feeling, and I locked it away in a box deep inside myself. I examined her. Her blood pressure was dangerously high, pre-eclampsia levels. The baby's heart rate was inconsistent. We were looking at a potential emergency situation. I called for the NICU team to be on standby. I ordered medications. I checked the ultrasound. The umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck. This wasn't just dramatic. This was life or death. For the next 2 hours, I became someone else. I became pure doctor, pure professional. Every contraction Gabrielle had, I coached her through it. Every time the baby's heart rate dipped, I made a decision. Andre stood in the corner like a ghost, and I pretended he didn't exist. The nurses kept glancing at me with concern, but they followed my lead. We worked as a team, and we worked fast. At one point, I thought we might have to do an emergency C-section. The baby was stuck, the cord was tightening, and Gabrielle was exhausted. But something in me refused to take the easy route. Some stubborn part of me wanted to do this right. Wanted to bring this baby into the world the way nature intended if we possibly could. So I talked Gabrielle through it. I told her she was strong. I told her she could do this. I told her to push like her life depended on it, because in a way, it did. And at 11:47 p.m., that baby girl came into the world. 4 pounds, 3 ounces, tiny, premature, but breathing. The moment she cried, that small angry cry of a newborn who didn't ask for any of this, something inside me cracked, not broke, cracked, like a dam with a fracture that's holding, but barely. I suctioned her airway, checked her vitals, and handed her to the NICU nurse who was waiting. She needs immediate assessment, I said. Premature birth, potential respiratory issues, monitor closely. My voice was steady, professional, like I hadn't just delivered my husband's child with another woman. Gabrielle was crying with relief, reaching for her baby. Andre was crying too, the pathetic fool, standing there with tears running down his face, like he had any right to emotion. I finished the delivery, delivered the placenta, checked for hemorrhaging. I stitched what needed stitching. I documented everything in the chart with handwriting that somehow stayed steady, and when it was done, when Gabrielle was stable and the baby was in the NICU, and there was nothing left for me to do medically, I looked at Andre one time, just once, and I walked out of that room. I made it to the staff bathroom before I collapsed. I didn't even make it to a stall. I just slid down the wall and broke. I broke in a way I didn't know was possible. The sobs came from somewhere deep, somewhere primal. My chest hurt like someone had reached in and squeezed my heart with their bare hands. I couldn't catch my breath. I was hyperventilating, and I knew I was hyperventilating, but I couldn't stop it. That's how Dr. Johnson found me. She was a colleague, a friend, someone who'd been in the trenches with me for years. She didn't say anything. She just sat down on that dirty bathroom floor next to me and held me while I cried. When I could finally breathe again, when the sobs turned into hiccups, she asked if I needed her to cover the rest of my shift. And God, I wanted to say yes. I wanted to run out of that hospital and never come back. But I had 2 more hours on my shift. I had 3 more patients scheduled, women who were counting on me, who needed me. So I said no. I washed my face, fixed my hair, and I finished my shift. I delivered a healthy baby boy at 1 a.m. I checked on a postpartum mother at 2 a.m. I moved through those hours like a ghost, like I was watching myself from outside my body. Andre was waiting for me in the parking lot when my shift ended, 3 in the morning, and there he was, leaning against my car, like he had any right to be there. The parking lot lights were flickering, and his face looked yellow and sick under them. I should have gotten security. I should have called someone. But a part of me needed this, needed to hear whatever pathetic explanation he had prepared. "Baby, please," he started, and I actually laughed. I laughed so hard, I had to lean against my car. "Don't you dare call me that. Don't you dare." He started crying again, told me the affair had been going on for 18 months. 18 months, while I was working myself to exhaustion, while I was building what I thought was our future, he was building a whole other life. Gabrielle was a pharmaceutical rep. She came to the hospital selling medications, and they started talking. It was innocent at first, he claimed, just friendly. Then it became coffee, then drinks, then more. He swore he never meant to hurt me. He said he loved us both, and that's when I lost it. "You don't love anyone," I said. "You love yourself. You love the idea of having everything you want without consequences. You're a coward and a liar. And you know what the saddest part is? I wasted 8 years believing in you." He tried to touch me, and I stepped back like he was contagious. You have 24 hours to get your things out of my house. If you're there when I get home tomorrow, I'm calling the police." I got in my car and drove away while he was still standing there in that parking lot. I drove home to our house that didn't feel like ours anymore. I walked through rooms full of memories that now felt contaminated. Our wedding photos on the mantle, vacation pictures from that trip to Jamaica, his coffee mug in the sink from that morning. That morning when he kissed me and told me he loved me before going to hold another woman's hand while she birthed his child. I called my sister at 4 in the morning. She was furious, ready to drive to our house and physically throw Andre out herself. I called my best friend from medical school. I called my pastor. I built a support system around myself because I knew I couldn't do this alone. When Andre came to get his things the next day, I wasn't there. My sister was, and she told me later that he cried, that he begged her to ask me to reconsider. She told him to leave before she did something she'd regret. The divorce took 6 months. I didn't fight him on anything. He could have the furniture, the fancy TV, all of it. I just wanted out. I wanted to shed him like dead skin. During those 6 months, I threw myself into work. I took extra shifts. I volunteered for the complicated cases because in the delivery room, I had purpose. I had meaning. I could control outcomes and save lives. In my personal life, I felt like I was drowning. I started therapy, sat on a couch once a week, and unpacked the betrayal with a kind woman who never judged me. She helped me understand that Andre's choices weren't about me. They weren't about anything I did or didn't do. He was broken in a way I couldn't fix, and I had been trying to love him into being whole when he needed to do that work himself. Through the grapevine, I heard that Andre married Gabrielle 4 months after our divorce was finalized. Part of me hoped they'd be miserable. The petty part of me wanted karma to destroy them both. But mostly, I just felt tired. Tired of being angry. Tired of carrying this weight. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Gabriel at a pediatrician's office. I was there for a consultation about a patient, and she was there with her daughter. Our eyes met across the waiting room, and I watched recognition and horror cross her face. She looked different, thinner, tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. She approached me hesitantly, and I thought about walking away. But something made me stay. "Dr. Thompson," she said quietly, "I need to say something, please." We stepped outside, and she broke down crying right there on the sidewalk. She told me that Andre had told her we were separated, that he was in the process of divorcing me when they met, that he made her believe she wasn't the other woman, that she was the new beginning. She found out the truth after the baby was born. When she saw our wedding date on divorce papers, she felt sick. She felt like she'd been used. And standing there looking at her, I realized something. We'd both been lied to. We were both victims of Andre's selfishness. "I saved your daughter's life," I told her, not cruelly, just factually. I could have walked out of that room. Part of me wanted to, but I didn't. Because that baby didn't deserve to suffer for adult mistakes. That's bigger than him. That's bigger than both of us. We didn't become friends. We probably never will. But we found something like peace in that moment. An understanding that women don't have to be enemies just because a man put them in an impossible situation. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm completely healed, that I've moved on, and everything is perfect now. Some days I'm still angry. Some days I look at happy couples and feel bitter. Some days I wonder if I'll ever trust anyone again. But I'll tell you what I am. I'm proud. Proud that in the worst moment of my life, when I had every reason to be cruel, to be vindictive, to walk away and let someone else handle it, I chose to be a doctor first. I chose my oath over my anger. I chose life over revenge. That night in the delivery room proved something to me about who I am at my core. I'm not defined by Andre's betrayal. I'm defined by my response to it. I'm still an OB-GYN. I still deliver babies and hold the hands of scared mothers and work impossible hours. But now I'm also in therapy. I'm also rebuilding my life on my terms. I'm learning to trust again, slowly. I'm learning that being strong doesn't mean never breaking. It means breaking and choosing to put yourself back together. My mother tells me she's proud of me. My sister tells me I'm her hero. My patients tell me I saved their lives. And slowly, I'm starting to believe that I saved my own life too. Not by leaving the delivery room, by staying in it. So that's my story. The night my marriage ended, in the place where I bring life into the world. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to choose between revenge and integrity, between your pain and your purpose, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below, tell me your story, or just tell me you made it through. Because that's what we do. We survive, we heal, and we come out stronger on the other side. Subscribe to this channel because I'm not done telling the truth. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're stronger than what broke them. Hit that like button if you believe we're all more than our worst days. I'll be here, sharing more stories, because silence protects no one, and your story matters. Thank you for listening to mine.